So this is a quick demonstration of what we have here. We're currently looking at our Hexagon Global Classic bridge type CMM. If you look here, we have a part mounted up on this platform. It's important that any parts that you measure must be secured to this table or to the metal plate that you see behind that. If the part moves around, you're not going to get accurate information from the CMM as it measures things. On here you see, here's the big top end that holds the arm that will come down, and on here we have a manual type wrist, so we can rotate that and we can also change the angle of the probe, and we currently have a 100mm probe mounted on there. You'll notice that this surface is a calibrated granite surface. This ensures that we have ultimate flatness when we start our measurements. Now over here we're going to move in and take a look at some of the controls here. I'm going to bring the controller up to the camera so you can see this more clearly. So on here we have a joystick which moves the bridge side to side, forward and back, and the twist actually controls when the arm descends. You must hold this silver button down in order for the bridge to move. This control right here works in conjunction with those LEDs up top. That's the speed at which things move. This is fast, this is slow. Additionally, if you're moving something, so if I bring this forward and drop down the probe, you can see this here. As I twist this, it moves up and down. If I press this turtle button, it makes things very slow, so that you can approach the part at a very slow speed. You don't want to crash the probe into the part at a high rate of speed. It will damage the probe, potentially bend the probe. It will definitely make the machine stop doing things for you. This is the main power button. It needs to be held down in order for the CMM to start. This check button here allows you to select a feature. So if you are probing a circle, you make 3 hits in a circle, you then press this button at the end and it accepts the circle feature. You can also take a hit away by pressing this red X button, so if you made an erroneous hit, you can press that. Most of the other stuff on here isn't going to be really all that value to you. So those are the primary things. You all know what an e-stop is, so if you really get in trouble you can e-stop. But resetting from an e-stop is tricky. You have to pull out the e-stop and restart the machine. Oftentimes the software needs to be restarted in that situation. So let me move this out of the way here. Let's take a look around the software real quick here. PC-DMIS. So let me zoom in on this. Hopefully you can see most of what we're talking about here. So this is the main programming window. This is where we're going to write all of our code. Something to note, the cursor needs to be at the end of the program at all times when you're programming, or else you're putting things in the wrong order. Now you can write it in this long code here. You can also come up here and view, let's see if I get this right here. Summary mode right here changes the look of the code to a summary where everything has a little plus on the left. So if you're looking at particular items of your programming, it gives you a more organized way of looking at it. But primarily when we're working in PC-DMIS, we will be working in command mode. And you can either drop the cursor at the very bottom, or you can hit Control End, and that will always place the cursor at the bottom. This view window here shows us the part that we're testing. Currently this has a CAD drawing of the part, This one is not exact to what we have on the table right now, but it's pretty close. You can also view a report window, which looks like this. Currently we haven't measured anything, so there's nothing in the report. But the report can be printed as well as just viewed. When we're doing work within programming, there will be information that appears in this window here. This will show us information about the feature that we're working on. Now, there's a lot of stuff at the top here, and you don't need to see all of it, but it's really dependent a lot on which machine you're working on. So let's just talk about some of the basics here. These aquamarine icons here are measured features. So you have a point, a line, a plane, a circle, you know, and on over. This question mark allows you to use the best guess. So if I select this, when I'm measuring a feature, it's going to make its best guess as to what that feature is. It doesn't always work perfectly, but it works most of the time. Let's take a look at some of these other things over here. These are known as auto features. So in these auto features, what you're doing is selecting what you think you're going to measure. For instance, I have the sphere highlighted here. If I click on it, it's going to ask me how do I want to measure that sphere. How many levels do I want to measure? How many hits per level? And then all I need to do is probe near it, around the edge or on top of the sphere, and it will then go ahead and measure the rest of it. Again, it doesn't always work perfectly, but you sort of have to test these things out as you program them. These yellow icons are known as constructed features, and constructed features are used when you want to measure something that, say, the probe can't reach. The ball is a certain diameter on the end of the probe. It doesn't always reach into things like the center of this notch. But if we measure a line on either of these two side planes, we can then construct a line between those 2 points that will pick that intersection up right in the middle. So those are valuable and very useful. These red icons are what you're going to get out in your report. After you make a series of measurements, you want to know certain pieces of data, and they're usually correlated to tolerancing. So because we have a CAD model in here, we have also stored all of the data around this. For instance, tolerancing data, you know, the size of this hole, how far it is from this orientation point, etc. So this will allow you to locate a position relative to the orientation of this part, locate a circle, measure a distance, measure an angle, and on down. These are the symbols you see in GD&T. And those are what are going to appear on your report later. The rest of these things are views, probe information, you name it. There's a lot of stuff up there. Some of it we'll use, some of it we won't. But as we get further into this lesson, you'll see where some of this has value. There's also sort of a all-in-one toolbar here. This one has drop downs within it that are all of these other toolbars combined. So those are the basics of PC-DMIS. As we get into this a little bit further, you'll discover more about it, and you'll learn more about these menu items.